Okay, we need to talk. I mean, we really need to talk about what's going to happen next week because that was the most intense episode I have ever seen from this show. And that is saying a lot because there have been so many intense moments, like, well, when Annalise was begging Wes to shoot her. But this one, I actually really like Frank. Don't hate me for saying that because I know he's a bad guy. I know he killed Lila. I know he's done other things, but there's something about him that just gets me. I think it's the same thing that gets Laurel. And if you watch my live reaction, like, I was almost in tears because I really thought he was going to pull the trigger. But I'm very nervous that we do lose him in the finale, and I'm so sad. And if you guys watch my live reaction, I will probably cry because that makes me so sad. So first off, I just want to tell you my thoughts for the finale, and then I'll kind of get into what I thought about this week's episode. But I feel like we could lose two people. I feel very strongly that it could be Frank because, well, Annalise doesn't want him in her life at all, and she hates him and wants him dead. And I don't know if he's going to end up killing himself or if someone kills him, if Annalise takes the gun and kills him. I don't know. Now, I know she's never killed anyone, but I'm worried because what is his place in the show now if he doesn't die? Then we have to talk about Laurel. Laurel is pregnant, so there's a couple ways we could go with this. Now, I don't think they'll kill off two major characters, so if we know that Frank dies early on, I think Laurel is safe. But Laurel has been a huge part of this half of the season. With her being pregnant, if she's okay and her baby's okay, I don't see that working with the show. I don't see a pregnant woman getting involved in all of the criminal scandals that go on under Annalise. I don't see a woman who actually has her baby still being a part of this and getting involved in more crimes, and I just don't see that. I don't think the show would go that way. It's just not a possibility. So with her being pregnant, perhaps that is the reason she will die. Now, how is she going to die? Well, I was talking to my live chat that we know Meggie is like overseeing her medical care. Now, Laurel looked okay and she was, talking sort of and everything. She looked like she was going to make it, but Meggie could be insane. I've always thought there was something a little off about her. I mean, Meggie could tamper with her IV. She could be the reason she dies. I know that's really out there, but that's something to think about. Or she could have internal injuries that we don't realize that cause her to be okay for 1 minute, but then she flatlines or something. I don't know. The other way this could go is that her internal injuries make her have a miscarriage, but Laurel lives and she continues with the show. So what I want you to do is to guess who will be under the sheet. We do know this is a guy. And then if you think a second person will die, give me those two guesses. It will be very interesting to see who gets this right. Because as I have said before, I think it's possible that they kill off an insignificant person and put that person under the sheet and then kill a major character to really shock us. So from the beginning of this episode, we get that flash forward where we see Annalise in jail with Bonnie. And she's wanting to know who has framed her, who is the traitor, because Bonnie tells her someone has turned her in. And at first she's like, is it you, Bonnie? Is it you? And Bonnie's like, it's not me. I'll figure out who it is. Now, I also see this going two ways. Now, I definitely thought that Annalise and Wes were working together and that all of what he was doing to turn her in was part of some plot that they had. I still believe that Bonnie could not be in on what they're doing and she's lying to Bonnie, or I could take it for surface level and believe that she doesn't really know that Wes is the traitor. I just find it hard to believe that Wes is doing this to her, but we'll have to see how that all pans out. Frank tells Laurel that he's in love with her. We've definitely had this half of the season be all about Frank. Another clue as to why we might lose him. We've seen his emotional side. We've seen him bawling in this episode. He's telling Laurel he loves her, which we didn't know that would ever be said. The problem is she loves Wes, but I still think she cares deeply about Frank. And once they figure out, Annalise and Bonnie, that Frank's there, they want him to leave. And she's like, no, I want you to stay because she wants to protect him. She's still, she's a good person at heart. I really like Laurel. So Wes gets subpoenaed and he's going to have to testify in this trial of the murder of his father, even though I still think that's kind of a stretch by the show because any blood spatter expert would have realized that Wes was in the wrong position to have been the one who shot the deadly bullet that killed his father, but whatever. So there's been a high emphasis on the Dean this half season. I personally think her storyline is very boring, but I wonder if that's going to play some way into the finale. She's definitely not the person under the sheet because she's a woman, but I don't know why we've spent so much time on her. I do know she's a recognizable character and this actress was part of the show Dexter, but I don't know if they're going to save, like have a cliffhanger kind of with her and have more of her story in the second half of the season, or if something's going to go down this finale. Several people have asked me, could she be the mother of Simon? Could she be the mother of Thomas? Thomas is the guy who was hooking up with Oliver. I have no idea. Maybe, possibly. There has to be something more with her, and I don't know if we'll find that out next week or if we'll find that out in January when the show returns. So Simon brings up some flowers that were for Oliver, and they were sent by Thomas, which is a little bit strange to me because we saw that interaction with Thomas and Oliver, and Thomas really seemed to be kind of over this relationship, if you can call it that. So my first thought was that Simon was in some way trying to sabotage the relationship of Oliver and Connor, and that he actually purchased the flowers, or maybe he had a secret crush on Oliver himself. But later on in the episode, we see Thomas calling Oliver, and you see his picture on the screen, so it's definitely his number. So I don't really know what's going on here. You could say he's had a change of heart, or you could say that they've been seeing each other again and he didn't want to tell Connor, but it does seem a little bit weird. I'm interested to see what you guys think about that. So there's this woman who reappears. I think you've probably remembered her from last season. She was a part of Frank's life at one time because she actually gave him a bunch of money to be the person to hit Annalise, cause her to wreck, which resulted in the loss of her baby several years back. This is a person who had sex with Frank. They met in a hotel. You probably remember her if you've been keeping up with the show. So he wants to essentially kill her because she is Charles Mahoney, who is Wes's father's son. She's his alibi. She says she was with him the night that his father was killed, so he couldn't be the person who killed his father. Well, if you take her out, then he's lost his alibi. So that was kind of a plan concocted, I guess, by Annalise and Frank. And Frank is willing to go through with it, and he goes to her home and realizes she has a young daughter, and he feels a little bit weird about it, but then he's going to go through with it. But then he decides to be the good guy finally and leave. When he calls Bonnie to tell her that he didn't kill her, Bonnie tells him to go back in and kill her, which really bothers me. And I mean, Bonnie frustrates me, but this was a really frustrating moment, that she would want this woman, who I'm sure is not a good person, but to leave. It looked like she was a single mom. She would be leaving a young daughter behind. That's just downright evil. And it would have just caused more problems for Frank. It's just another dead person because of him. So he didn't kill her, but Bonnie was really struggling. I was struggling with her myself. So we get some more hints about Michaela's mom, and I don't really know where we're going with that, but Michaela's mom's been trying to call her, and she's been ignoring the calls. We know she has a strained relationship with her, but we don't know much about her mom. We know she's adopted. We know we're going to see her in the finale because we saw her in the flash forward. I have no idea if her mom is of any importance, or if she ties into the crazy events of the finale, or if she's a storyline they're developing to carry into the next half of the season. I don't know. I definitely don't think anything major is going to go down with her. She's going to kill anyone or anything, but something is definitely up because they're setting us up for something with her mom. So Wes ends up testifying, and it doesn't look great for him, but the thing is, Annalise is always one step ahead of everyone, so she purchased a burner phone, and that burner phone was delivered to Charles in jail, and Frank called him from that woman's house, who was his alibi. So basically he's in trouble, and he looks guilty for killing his dad. It's kind of karma because I believe he killed someone last season, or we found out he killed someone last season. I was really, really upset with Oliver in this episode, and it supports my theory that I've had since last year that he is shady and that there is more to his story. But he started a fight with Connor because he says he's being shady and hiding things, and he's essentially hiding things about what goes on in the world of Annalise. And the only reason Connor's doing that is really to protect Oliver, as he told him, but Oliver thinks he has some kind of sinister motive. I just don't understand it, and like I explained in my live chat and my live reaction, if you have a significant other who works in a confidential job, like a lawyer, a detective, FBI, something like that, they are legally not allowed to tell you what goes on because it's confidential. So for him to harass him and demand to know what was going on is very suspicious, and I'm wondering if he is trying to undermine Annalise himself. Why is he desperate to know this information? Why is he desperate to work with her? It just doesn't add up to me, and it goes beyond someone just really wanting to be in that field of work, and I'm sorry, but I don't trust him, and I haven't trusted him for some time, and he's really showing more of his true colors. They essentially kind of broke up again, so it was very, 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 very heartbreaking for Connor, and I felt terrible for him in that moment. So Frank goes over to Annalise's, and Annalise, this is the moment where I almost died, because Annalise is talking to him and blaming him for her baby dying, which is true, I know. But she's just, actually, she's out of control, and he's like, you know, I'll just end it all right here, and he pulls out a gun, and I kind of was suspecting that was going to happen. And it was just the most intense moment ever. If you've seen my live reaction, you know what I'm talking about. If you watched it, you know what I'm talking about. And she kept saying to pull the trigger, pull the trigger. Bonnie walks in, she's like, no, don't do it, don't do it. And we're kind of left with that. And I don't know what's going to happen, but I'm very scared. And then we find out that Connor has hooked up with Thomas, which is just weird, but I know he did it out of pain. But we know is the next survivor, the last survivor. So we have between Nate and Frank. I don't think they're going to kill Nate because he's not important enough of a character. So if they kill Nate, they're going to kill off another big character, in my opinion. So if you're just now seeing me, please subscribe. I will be covering all of season 3 of How to Get Away with Murder. Check the down bar for the rest of the shows I cover, because you might actually watch some of those shows and be interested in following me on those shows as well. And please thumbs up this video. I can't wait to see who your guesses are for the person under the sheet, also for the second dead person if you believe there will be one, or what your theories are in general about this finale. I know it's going to be absolutely epic, and I can't wait to talk with you about it next week. But I hope you have a fabulous weekend, and I'll see you soon. Bye.